5, 4, 3,
3,
2,
2,
1.
1.
You are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Nick, Alex, I Yield to No One, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trophy Wars. This is episode 639. I'm your host, Tricky Mick. Alongside with me, the man, the myth, the legend, and he's also a Wildcat. It's Alex.
Yes, my alma mater, the University of Kentucky, lost to the number one team in the country, Georgia football Bulldogs, by 1 point last night. What a heartbreaker. I mean, we shouldn't have won that game, but at the same time, we had a chance to win it. We just couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, Tross is happy. Tross is happy.
Well, I mean, he ought to be. I mean, you can't be playing like that against Alabama and expecting to win.
Alabama's what, ranked 6th, right?
I got no idea, but they're year in and year out one of the strongest teams in the country. So ever since at least Nick Saban came in there and just made that place a dynasty.
Yeah, but Saban's gone now. I don't think Alabama's going to be as strong anymore.
Well, I mean, I know Saban's gone, but still.
He's the man who cares less about trophies than I care about.
And football.
And pizza in other places. It's Matt.
Yield and I are trading positions. You know, last week I decided I wasn't going to be here. This week he decides he's not going to be here. So hopefully you all still enjoy the show.
Well, Yield didn't want to be here because he wanted to watch his Bengals, which we all thought were going to lose. But with 2 minutes to go, they're beating the Chiefs right now. So maybe it was a good thing that Yield decided to take the week off and not watch his team lose.
Yeah, well, you got to remember that the Chiefs do have the best quarterback in NFL and Patrick Mahomes. So there's always a chance. I don't want to jinx him, but there's always that chance.
Oh, you just jinxed him.
Well, I didn't know you were superstitious, Tricky.
I am very superstitious, but mostly when it comes to hockey.
But we're not talking about hockey. We're talking about football.
I know. I'm just saying I am very superstitious, especially when it comes to hockey.
Don't you do something like you don't wash something like some article of clothing all throughout the playoffs?
We're not going to talk about that.
Oh, okay. So it's the underwear. You don't wash the underwear all the way through the playoffs.
Oh, speaking of underwear, apparently I'm getting a lot of feedback, and Jeff Hanner apparently replaces his underwear immediately, which I think is weird.
You got to give the listeners some context because that's just out of nowhere.
There was a video I posted. Well, I sent it to a bunch of listeners and our guys. But basically, there's a video of, I guess, a couple is downsizing their wardrobes. And there's a video of a woman who says, I had to get rid of all these dresses, but you couldn't get rid of this. And it was basically like a pair of underwear that's like been ripped from the seam and whatnot. And
well, and she complained that she still had dresses with the tags on. Which is a problem in of itself. You still have the tags on dresses you haven't worn yet. Clearly, you didn't need to buy those dresses.
And she's like, I had to get rid of dresses with tags still on them, but you got these, and it's basically like a pair of underwear where it's just separated from the seam. And then in retaliation, she just rips them, like destroying the band's underwear. So, yeah, I'll post a video in the Facebook group so people can watch it. I
don't know, like, why... What I don't understand is, and here's the thing, like when it comes to underwear, like I totally get it. If it's holy and disgusting, even if no one sees it, I will replace that underwear. Socks though, I'll wear with holes.
I was about to say that because one of the responses was Ashley telling me that you're actually pretty good about that, but you wear socks with holes in them.
Yeah, which I also do retire the socks to the pasture. I use them for cleaning cloths once they, the holes become too big, but that's the thing. Like, so this couple, like, are they sharing space? Like, is his pair of underwear really taking up space where her dresses could be? Like, what? I'm sorry. I
think it was mostly the point of I'm throwing away brand new dresses and you're keeping this holy underwear.
Why are you buying dresses that you're not wearing?
That's another point, but we can't get into that. We're not allowed to talk about that, Alex.
Why are we not allowed to talk about that?
It's like the forbidden rule. You're not allowed to question what a woman buys.
I mean, she can buy what she wants with her own money, but if you're gonna buy an expensive dress or a nice dress, make sure at least you wear it once. Get some use out of it.
I agree. My eye is hurting right now. I got smoke in my eye. Maybe I should stop smoking while I record.
Yeah, Tricky, you kind of brought that one on yourself. Like
I do this occasionally. Now it's like really bothering me.
What? Okay, so hold on. Why is it's obviously you're sitting in an open room, it's ventilated. Why is your eye being bothered by the smoke from the cigarette?
Because I turned on the fan, and now the fan is blowing the smoke into my eye.
Why not put the fan behind you?
Because the fan is actually under the desk, and it's what I call my bowl fan. It's to cool off the junk, as I said.
Yes, we know. So you didn't get swampy testicles.
I don't believe I have to edit this shit.
What's the matter, Matt?
I have to hear you talk about your ball fan more than once. That's what's wrong.
You don't have a ball fan there, Matt?
No, I do not.
No, my balls are very well ventilated where I'm sitting.
I don't even know.
Tricky, you got to get that sweat wicking clothing. That's sweat wicking Under Armour gear.
Matt, how are you doing, sir?
I was fine up until we started talking about your ball fan.
Well, it's just apparently you've never heard. Well, no, it doesn't really relate. But you listened to Lewis Black?
Yeah. Yes, and I'm fully aware of the skit you're about to talk about. However, that is because he is a comedian and talking about a fictitious scenario. You
I don't
are
think
a real
that was
person,
I think that was real.
And you are talking about a ball fan to keep your balls, well ventilated. Can we please move on from?
We also have to look at
ventilation talk.
We have to stare into your eyes over the podcast, over the video feed while you talk about this.
That's a new development because you guys weren't able to see me during the show normally.
That's great. I'm so glad that this is the episode that you chose to make that happen on. So anyway, Tricky, what about your balls?
They were sweaty. I'm just doing this now because Matt has to edit this.
I was gonna say Matt's about to hang up. Matt's about to go watch the Bengals game too.
But Jeff Hanna apparently says absolutely gross. I replaced them. I would have replaced them months prior. I don't know. I responded. Now I have to question every conversation we've ever had.
I'm beginning to question every conversation I've ever had.
Come on, Matt. This is the good. This is why people tune into the show.
Evidently, because Roboto Love is in chat saying how he tuned in just in time, and also a good morning to Dex, who's in chat as well, hearing you talk about your ball fan.
Well, okay, I have to give a shout out to Dex real quick. I know this is not shout outs, but I have to give him a shout out because in the last week I've been inundated with Facebook messages of people trying to promote the podcast. It's scammers like, oh, I can get you 5 tuned ratings, I can get you 20,000 downloads, blah blah blah. So I hired Dex to be my business manager, quote unquote business manager, and I put him in a group chat with him, and he's just been wrecking them. Something about fucking spiders, and I don't know. He's explaining to me what fucking spiders means, but apparently that's an Australian term. I don't know.
Look, man, no offense to Dex, but clearly if you're going to hire a business manager, you got to hire the business. Where's Troy's interview? Where's his
I've tried to get Troy on this show many times, but Troy is too busy out there making babies to even come on the show anymore. Apparently, he went in for the old snip, a moment too late because just prior to that, he got Lily pregnant with twins.
I mean, do we need to share this on the show?
He said it. He's made a Facebook post about it.
He hasn't shared it on the show though. See, here's the thing. There's a difference between what he and Lily decide to share on their private Facebook pages and what we choose to share here on the show with everybody here in the good old U.S. and across the pond, in Australia and in the Philippines.
He shared it in the Trophy Wars group back when the kids were born. Anyway, Let's
anyway,
move on.
I can only imagine what Will is going to make the episode image for this. It's probably going to be Tricky's fan, or
Tricky's only fan.
Don't give him ideas.
Oh no! After the fucking bullshit, Zelda is not or Breath of the Wild is not a Zelda game. Guess what? Will, you're apt to fire.
Hey, just for the record, I didn't tell him to make that image either.
Just for the record, you still posted it knowing how Alex and I felt.
I can't stunt his creativity.
Yeah, exactly. So, Will, there you go. Fans, Tricky balls.
He said,
make sure you give him a case of the elephantitis.
Wow. See, you guys are just taking this way too far. Anyway, so in the last week, if you guys are not aware, we went back and recorded a special, what was supposed to be a 20, 30-minute show. It was like close to 50 minutes of our thoughts on the PlayStation 5 Pro. We're going to be touching a little bit on that more on the show, but, let's get into our show proper. Updated trophy counts. I am level 958. I didn't even update my own trophies. Alex, go first. I didn't update mine. I updated everybody else's but mine.
You know good and damn well. Wait a minute. Where's the agenda? I do not have it.
I sent you the agenda.
Oh, that's right. You sent it to us in the most jacked up way possible because we weren't getting emails. Sorry, I was looking through my emails, not through my messenger, my Facebook Messenger. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I've got to sign in.
Alex is level 509, total trophies of 10,058 with 177 platinums and 176 games. Yield is level 517, total trophies of 10,528 with 196 platinums. Matt?
Guess what, folks? Guess what? I need fucking applause for this shit. I increased my trophy counts by 2. I went from 1311 to 1313. One of the best Star Wars games we're never going to get.
Sorry, it's not funny.
Matt, I'm applauding on the inside. I don't want to give you a bunch of noise to edit out, but I'm grinning.
I would have kept the claps in.
Look at this. Look at this. I'm doing the champions thing. Yeah, there we go. I'm raising the roof for you, Matt.
I am level 958, total trophies of 33,738, 975 platinums. And Sid is level 112, total trophies of 302 with 4 platinums. I am 1 trophy away from getting the Astro by platinum. And it is the hardest trophy that I think I've ever gone after.
Is it the platinum or the platforming run, the gold bot or something?
I don't know if it's gold bot.
You open up a secret like planet and it's like a platforming challenge.
No. You after you collect all the bots, all 300 bots in the game, you're able to open this up.
Yeah.
You have to collect all the bots, all the puzzle pieces. You have to basically get like 100% of the collectibles. Then it opens up and there's this one level.
Yes.
It's not a secret planet.
Okay, well but is it a gold trophy you're going after?
I'm gonna say yes, but I don't know if it's actually gold.
Because I have looked at the trophy guide. I mean, obviously this is not a game I feel like is super difficult, but the gold bot is the name of the supposed hardest trophy in that game. And it's a platforming challenge to end all platforming challenges in that game. Kind of like, Sackboy's Big Adventure had one of those at the end.
Yeah, see, and this is the thing, okay? And I know this is going to sound like a cop-out. I'm actually looking up the name of the trophy right now. Yeah, it's called the Golden Bot Trophy. It's not hard. I just keep making stupid mistakes. And I do believe a couple times I've been cheated out of a good move that just the hitbox registered wrong.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the way because I understand what you're throwing out there, Tricky. I get what you're saying because it's some games, platformers especially, it's not hard, but it's easy to fuck up. Does that sound about right?
That's exactly what it is. And I actually did a stream the other day. I said, watch me rage because I didn't actually rage on the stream, but I had to end the stream quick because I was starting to feel it. I was like, I can't start screaming into this microphone. after like the third run, I wanted to turn it off. It was like so bad, and I've gotten to the end like several times, and then like either a stupid mistake on my part, which is 90% of why I'm failing it, is me making stupid mistakes. But there are a couple times I felt like I did it right, and the hitbox registered wrong.
Are you questioning Team Asobi?
I am questioning the fact that they didn't patch this correctly.
That sounds like excuses to me. Matt, what do you think?
I mean, if he can't program something into his controller, is he even
stop.
trying to play?
Oh my God. Are we going to keep going back to this? I didn't cheat then. I didn't cheat now.
You're the one asking the Trophy Horse Facebook group yesterday if hiding platinums on PlayStation profiles, platinums that are unobtainable.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Because everybody voted yes that it's cheating.
And everybody proved me right. I won a $20 bet with Mr. Dex. Because Dex is the one that wants to delete his unattainable platinums. And I said, that's cheating. He said, put it in the Facebook group. I bet you I win. And we made a bet, $20. The loser has to donate $20 to my Extra Life page. He lost. I win. Not only am I happy I won the bet, but I'm also happy that's the first poll I've won because I knew everybody was going to think I was the one trying to hide trophy.
That just goes to show the amount of confidence that everyone has in Tricky and the shenanigans he's... yeah.
Dex, do you want to answer for your crimes in the chat? Dex is here. Do you want to answer for your crimes in the chat? He's not.
Let's not stop the show and pause.
No.
Types in there.
No, Matt was about to say something. I figured he was just going to keep going.
I said I didn't care to vote, so.
No, you don't care about trophies. So weird. How does a man not care about trophies?
How does a man have a ball fan?
I'm sorry. Are you a man? Do you like your balls being sweaty?
My balls aren't unnaturally sweaty.
Well, I'm also surrounded by like heat-producing technology that occasionally makes my balls sweat.
You're also listeners. I am aiming my hands at my massive computer tower that generates more heat than heaters I've bought off of Amazon.
Well, that's probably true, but you're also on a straight desk. I'm on a L-shaped desk, so like I'm confined in here.
Hey, Tricky.
Yep.
What does that look like?
Oh,
it's an L-shaped desk.
I didn't know you had. I didn't realize you had an L-shaped. I must have missed that. Anyway, Dex says, "No, I'm good. It's going to a good cause." Yes, it is going to a good cause. But just I want to celebrate my win because I knew Alex was going to think I was the one trying to hide trophies. I knew it. When I posted that poll, I knew that.
Don't even think just me. Everyone thought that, Tricky. Because you've had trophies flagged on PlayStation profiles, and you've also hidden trophies on PlayStation profiles. So yeah, of course everyone's gonna think it's you.
So just for the record, everybody that voted, but Thomas, Dan Root, Gareth, Alexander, and George all voted with Dex, so they all agree. But right now there's 19 votes and it's 14-5. So we win. I can't even say that on the show. We're gonna move on. Where are we at? I'm getting so distracted here. Let's go.
Alex, what have you been playing?
There you go.
Well, I have been played a little bit of Rocket League with Yield on Thursday. Played most of my time this week has gone to trying to wrangle the RNG of Cult of the Lamb. Finished up that game entirely. I've beaten the main game. I've beaten the DLC, and I have the Platinum Trophy. So the last thing I had to do was just basically find all the lore and unlock the last animal follower form, a snake, that was part of the general base, like the just like the requirements for the trophy. Because good news for anybody playing that game, there are 4 DLCs out there, I think, which are like almost on sale or like $7 a piece. They give you new animal forms as well as different design items for your camp. Well, you don't need any of those. You don't have to pay for any DLC to get the Platinum Trophy. There is DLC that isn't factored into the trophy. Like I said this past week, they changed the Platinum requirements once they released DLC, but you don't have to pay a single dime to get the Platinum. So that is good. And yeah, a lot of my time this week has been spent acquiring gold necklaces, the gold skull necklaces in the game, because what that allows you to do is, I told you before, the followers grow old and die. Well, with a gold skull necklace, they gain the immortal trait, and you're not got to worry about them dying. So you can keep your favorite animal followers around forever so they can worship you all the time. Yeah, but the last part of that game was just me going into the Crusades again and again, because it's all based on RNG, and there's one specific totem you have to find in a level to hit, and then it opens up a secret room where you can then trade a heart for a new lore or an extra part of the story. And of course, all that stuff is random. It's procedurally generated, so you weren't guaranteed to find it. So yeah, most of my week has been doing that. But I finally got the Platinum Trophy last night, and I downloaded Little Nightmares 2. I almost bought Astrobot, but I just don't really want to spend the money at this point. A lot of stuff's coming up soon, and Little Nightmares. See how it follows up on the first game. Yeah, it's dangling out there on PlayStation Plus. So I figure, like I said, PlayStation Plus for me is coming up. maybe have 6 months left, so I might as well play everything I'm going to play now, and then wait for, because holiday sale. You figure Astrobot might go on sale for that. So
yeah, you got a lot more than 6 months coming to you, Alex.
Not if I don't enter it.
You're too honorable not to.
What do you mean too honorable not to?
If I give it to you, tell you what it's for, you will do the right thing. I have confidence in you.
I mean, you could just lie to me and be like, "Hey, here's a copy of Astrobot
you think
for free.
They are.
Here's a copy of Astrobot for free." Hey, it would save you money just to give me Astrobot instead of a PlayStation Plus.
I want to get you PlayStation Plus. I want you to keep playing games. But you said you weren't going to play Little Nightmares.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I did enjoy the first game, but I mean, the trophy lists aren't hard, and they do have chapter select, so it's not really any missable trophies. I mean, I do like the grim art style and the macabre feel of the Little Nightmares games. They're puzzle platformers. Again, it's not great that you can't defend yourself, but then again, it's also, I don't know, it's not like it's oppressively hard in that degree. It's not like it's terrifying like you're playing a Resident Evil game and you've got a bunch of zombies chasing you that you're just completely outmatched. I mean, eventually you learn the patterns of the enemies and where they're going and what to do. So, but I mean, I like the first one, well enough where you give me a free copy of the other game and you make the platinum easily attainable, with some effort. Why not? Like I said, I'm just not looking. There's a few games I have saved in my queue on my wish list. One of them being a game called Thunder Ray. For anyone who's never seen it, it's very much like anime style, retro arcade style boxer. Think Punch Out. That kind of same view with space alien boxers. The only gripe against the game, it looks really well animated. The only thing is apparently some of the boxers are unnecessarily hard, and it's a short game, like only 8 fighters long. But Thunder Ray, if you missed Punch Out because we didn't get the last one since the Wii, Thunder Ray might be a game for you. It's $15. I think it's a Crunchyroll game, but yeah, I mean, it looks really good. So I'm considering buying that as well because I love me some Punch Out, and it's kind of the only version of Punch Out you're going to get on PlayStation.
There wasn't a Punch Out on Switch?
There was no. Is Punch Out for the Wii was the last one.
Really?
Yeah, I mean they had ARMS, which is kind of like Punch Out a little bit, but just not as good. Nowhere near as good.
All right, Matt, what have you been playing?
Well, since I've been on the show last, I've got a bunch that I've gone through, but the reason why I got 2 new trophies was because I, too, am playing Astrobot. And a side note about that is I finally remembered that there is a PC app that allows me to remote play my PS5. And since I USB the PS5 DualSense controller right into my PC, I have all the benefits of playing the PS5 at my PC as opposed to downstairs. So bought that. Actually, it was delivered this morning. Put a couple, maybe an hour into it, and got 2 new trophies.
It's good.
It's very good. It's listen, man. If you like platforming, it's got all the charm that any Mario game has. The historical PlayStation, all the nods and the Easter eggs, things like that. It's a wonderful little game, and I'm happy I got it. Then let's go over to Steam because I've been playing a whole bunch of stuff there. I put some time into Dead Cells, some more time into Black Myth Wukong, got through some bosses that were giving me trouble. A lot of time into Diablo 4. My friends and I finally beat the campaign and we're starting all the endgame stuff. I did Forza Horizon 4 because it's on sale this week on Steam, and I got the Ultimate Edition for $20. And fun fact is that is getting delisted come December, so go buy it now if you have any interest in getting it on the PC and haven't pulled the trigger yet. Also, I am fighting for the Emperor in Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, which is a fun little jaunt. It's, you against waves upon waves of Tyranids. So like in Helldivers, waves and waves of bugs, and now I'm going after waves and waves of reptilian antagonists that can shoot me. So it's like bugs and bots combined. But that is a multiplayer game. It has a PvE mode, a PvP mode. It's also got co-op for you and up to 2 of your friends. And it's mixing between, Gears of War and kind of Helldivers. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And it's kind of a power fantasy type game. And then finally, the only other thing I was playing, some of my Channel 3 friends and I, Malfurious and Young Logan Young, got on to Monster Hunter Rise. They loaded up a monster called a Risen Shigaru Magala, and it was a tough fight, but we took it down, got the materials, and I feel accomplished. So it's been 2 weeks since I was on, so I had a lot that I got done in that time period. That's all I've been playing.
And I've been playing Division 2, obviously. Also been playing Astrobot. Like I said, I'm 1 trophy away. And, it's weird, Alex, because you were saying, like, this seems like the hardest trophy. A lot of people are saying that to the beat, which is one of the levels, that's actually the hardest one, that this one isn't that hard. So it is what it is. Like, I've beaten everyone. I just got to do this, and then I had the platinum. Jumped into some Helldivers, played a couple levels, nothing too serious because I'm convinced I need help to play that game. And not saying like I can't play the game, saying like I don't know where to go look for things. I need to run with a couple people to learn maps and stuff like that. I'm afraid to go with Matt because Matt will just burn the hell out of my ass.
And with the buffs coming back to the flamethrower, yeah, that's going to happen.
I'm going to need a portable ball fan if I'm playing that game with Matt.
You need a portable fire hydrant.
Played, and I jumped back into Star Wars Outlaws. I got discouraged for a while. Matt actually made a phone call to because there are a total of 4 different trophies where you have to get to the maximum maximum rep with each of the factions, and it just turns out that every time I start building one up, I start dropping another one down because it's a counterbalance effect. And the problem is if you go too low with a faction, they start sending death squads after you.
So here's my question. It's a trophy to have the max for all of them at the same time?
No, you just have to get to the max at a certain time. But like I said, if just using this as a factions, if I do a job for Alex, my rep goes up with Alex, but my rep with you goes down.
Yeah.
So if you get too low, then you start sending death squads after me.
I misunderstood what you were asking for. So here's what you do. You do jobs for the other 3 that focus on hurting one faction.
Which I've already done.
And then you get those to max. And then when you have the trophies for those 3 factions, then you go back and you start doing jobs for that other faction. It'll be harder to find jobs, but you can still find them and start getting your rep back up with them.
Well, that's the problem is once you get too low, not only do they stop giving you jobs, so you have to get like a job where, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, but not really. After you do certain jobs, you'll get like an option to say, complete this job for the faction you did, or you can turn on them and give credit or give whatever you stole or whatever you obtained to another faction. You could raise your up with that faction. But the problem, like I was saying, is you go too low with a faction, you don't get jobs for them, so you have to get lucky on the other side that the other side, you could turn on them, or And the other problem is they start setting death squads after you. So every time you go anywhere near their area on the map, they start setting death squads after you, and that's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, well, again, it's going to be tougher to find jobs for them, but
yeah. But I think playing now, I think I've devised a strategy, so I'm going to try to do that, and if that works, obviously I'll share it on the show. And that's all I've been playing.
Real quick, Tricky, before you move on, I did not see this in the agenda. I looked ahead, but we have a new Helldivers 2 War Bond coming out September 19th. From today, that's 4 days from now. The Chemical Agents War Bond, that comes news from the PlayStation blog, and want to thank Catherine Baskin, the social media and community manager for Arrowhead Game Studios. So didn't see it on the agenda, and just thought it was worth mentioning that we're about to get a new War Bond in Helldivers 2.
But more importantly, now all these buffs are coming out. The 17th is evidently the first day that they hit that patch. So we're going to see a lot of every day that they've been introducing new buffs that they're bringing back to weapons and nerfs to some enemies. So good job, Hourhead, kind of reversing course on some of the fuck-ups they've had.
So, Alex, I actually didn't put that in the agenda because I was asked to have us stop talking about Helldivers so much.
I mean, we can still mention the news. I mean, it took me like 20 seconds to spit that out.
I'm just saying, Helldivers is turning into the new Microsoft Activision acquisition.
No, it's not. It's a constantly updating game that people still play. I mean,
and it's a Sony published game, so frankly, it belongs on this show.
Look, man, here's the thing.
I'm trying to appease the fans. That's all I'm saying.
We're not dedicating an entire half hour we're not cutting a half hour every week out to the Helldivers 2, segment. So,
oh God, the Death Kitty's on the screen.
Tricky, you're supposed to be running a podcast here, not staring at a video screen.
I'm looking at my co-host.
I have the wonderful Narga on my screen, and he is purring up a storm.
As any good boy or girl should be doing, purring up a storm.
Narga got some shots this weekend. He was not happy.
Was it what? Look, I'm
trying to host a show here.
I need answer. Oh, now you're trying to host it.
If you could talk about your ball fan, I'm talking about my cat and his shots.
Matt, is Narga okay?
Oh, he is perfectly fine. He is the most cuddly kitty in the world, unless you try to poke him with a needle.
Question: have you guys seen the videos of the vets sticking the cats into cages to give them the needles?
Yes.
That is the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life. Makes sense though. But they also, I've also seen vets put on these big ass oven mitts to avoid the nails as they're trying to pull cats.
There, he is gone, Tricky.
Much better. First topic coming from Video Games Chronicle, written by Chris Scullion. Sony will start selling refurbished PS5 consoles at a reduced price. Now on the PlayStation Direct site is the section called Certified Refurbished. There was a poster spotted by Push Square that showed a refurbishing PS5, including a disk drive, for $400. Sony states the refurbished console is extensively cleaned and tested and comes with all the necessary cables, accessories, manuals, packed in their own recertified packaging, though they might have minor cosmetic imperfections. Sony's certified refurbished consoles also come with a 12-month warranty. So I'll go to you, Matt, first, because Alex is coming back to the camera. Do we think that this is in response to everybody's outrage on the price point? Because they had to know that coming out with $700 was was going to start some shit.
No, because it takes a while to put a system like this in place. This would have, if they were predictive and they said, well, people are going to rail against the $700 price point, yeah. But no, it's obviously something that is done. Valve does it with their Steam Decks. So I think it's a good idea to get some cheaper certified PS5s out in the wild. Like that.
See, I think this is a response because everybody's going to start trading in their PS5s to offset the cost of the Pro. So that's what they came up with this.
Yeah, but if you go with that, who are they going to trade it in to? Because if they trade it into GameStop's not sending that back to Sony.
I didn't.
No, it's probably warranty stuff. Valve did this all the time. So what happens is You send your Steam Deck in for a warranty service. They send you out a refurbished or new Steam Deck replacement, so that way you're not waiting for the repair. Then they go repair that unit that was sent in, and that becomes certified refurbished.
Matt, do you want to read the chat? Because I'm not reading that.
That Robato's talking about, that we're talking about Tricky's balls or Matt's pussy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your wife has entered the chat. That's why.
Yeah, that she'll take Ender pussy. I don't purport to control what she says. She is a free spirit.
Yeah, basically, V says I better be nice to her and Narga. I'm nice to cats, but cats are death kitties. That's all I'm saying.
That's not being nice. Alice, what
nice.
do you thought? What do you think on recertified?
I don't think this is as much. I mean, yes, the announcement is very coincidentally near the announcement of the PlayStation 5 Pro. However, I think this is just another method for Sony to sell a console, to make more money. And again, to have yet another SKU out there that, yes, is better priced. So, I mean, people may take this avenue. Yeah, but again, you think about this is potentially another console sold. They can report this as another console sold. So, again, when you're Sony and you're talking about, how long the lifespan of the PS5 is, and you're reporting that, sales are dipping below what we thought, sooner than we thought, well, you need to do a few things to, re-energize those sales. Selling refurbished consoles, introducing the PS5 Pro are definitely ways to do that. So again, I think it's just another way that Sony's making money.
Yeah, I thought this was coincidences, or not a coincidence that they announced at the same time, because I think a lot of people are going to be trading in the PS5s. Like I made a joke post in the Facebook group that all of a sudden your Pro starts making sound, or your 5 starts making sounds the second the Pro. Because the joke last week was that I wouldn't buy a Pro unless my current one broke. One of my 5, as Alice likes to put out.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if you don't want to buy, if you want a cheaper PlayStation 5, just don't buy the Pro. Go buy a regular PlayStation 5.
Well, how long until you think we're going to start seeing? How long after the launch of the Pro do you think we're going to start seeing refurbished Pros on the site? Because they're probably going to get sold about $60.
No, they're refurbished PlayStation 5s, right? Not refurbished Pros, because how are they going to sell refurbished Pros right out of the gate when there's none out?
That was my question: is how soon after the launch do you think that we're going to start seeing refurbished Pros being sold?
I don't know, but
depends on. Sorry, go ahead, Ox.
I mean, I don't know, Matt. I'll let Matt. Don't want to step on what Matt was going to say, but you're going to sell refurbished Pros, refurbished PlayStation 5s, PlayStation 5 Pros. Like, this is a lot of SKUs, so I don't know. I think that Sony is muddying the waters with how many SKUs they're going to throw out there, but it depends on the quality of, and I'm probably now stepping on what Matt's going to say, the quality of the console, like how, if any break. No one's going to just send in to be refurbished. The PlayStation, the console itself has to have an issue. So no one's going to be just sending in consoles willy-nilly.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, is that if they have PS5 Pros that break and people have to send them in, that's where their allotment's coming from.
That's where.
But then but here's the thing: if people are sending in, what are you doing for those customers who send in their PlayStation 5 Pro?
You send them a brand new one.
You're sending them a brand new one, and okay.
Yeah, I mean, like Matt said, and not to step on what, not to speak for Matt, but like Matt said, is the fact that when you send when you ever send a PlayStation system into Sony for warranty, repair, or Vita or something like that, what they do is they basically just send you another console, and then they spend the time fixing it, so you're not waiting on the other end for your console to be fixed.
So you don't think that they're going to just send these have people send them in and then send them back the same Pro? Because in that case, you're sending them a brand new Pro, and then you're selling that refurbished Pro for a lower price, so you're losing money.
No, they're making
money.
You
are. No, they're not.
Because they're not having this.
You sell the initial console for $700. Then that person sends it in for repairs, and you send them a free console that you're not making money off of, and then you send that refurbished one, you sell that for a lower price. Yes, they're losing money because the brand new PS5 they sent out is not being paid for.
Yes, but they're also not paying to have it shipped to a store. They're not paying for marketing. They're not paying all that other stuff.
So I'm gonna jump in here to say you're not going to see PS5 Pros certified refurbished for a while. As with any new technology, they're going to be honoring warranty repairs for a significant portion of time. However, as time drags on, they're going to get a stock of repairable PS5 Pros that eventually will make its way to the market. You're not going to be seeing brand new PS5 Pros go back to warranty claims. They're going to want to see what's wrong with them and get those fixed. To Alex's point, yeah, they have the potential to lose money, but also on any new technology, the standard is to repair it and send it back because you just don't have all these extra parts lying around. You're busy manufacturing the product. So that's something to consider.
I actually don't think they're going to lose money at all because they're basically trading out the system and then making another $600 on the sale of.
But they sent a $700 console to somebody that they didn't charge them for to replace the console that was broken.
I see exactly what you're saying, Alex. I'm not really trying to argue that point. I'm just saying I think their profit margins, they're not really going to be losing money. Roberto in the chat says
Roberto.
I said Roberto again, didn't I?
Yep.
Roberto, they sent me back my exact PS5 when I sent it in to them for warranty repair.
Yeah, exactly. Why would they not just make you wait and send you back the exact same console?
A couple of times that I've had to send this console into Sony Repair, I got it back a different console.
And here's the thing. Marking these things as refurbished is going to be critically important because I guarantee that in some cases, you're going to have refurbished sold as new because of some idiot at a store that doesn't know what they're doing. So that's going to be important. Well, the actual marking and the advertising that this is a refurbished console, because I can easily see along the way where a refurbished console gets sold at a new price.
Okay, let's clarify here for a second. This system that we're talking about now is coming straight from PlayStation. So, yes, some idiot could do that in Sony's warehouse. What I see you saying is more likely to happen like a GameStop or a mom and pop store.
Yeah, so you don't think that eventually these certified, refurbished consoles are going to make their way to GameStop or Target or other places?
No,
I don't think so. I don't think
Sony. I don't think Sony is going to sell send refurbished copies to like GameStop for them to sell.
Who is buying consoles straight from Sony unless it's like the very beginning of a console cycle where they're so hard to get, when you're just like a lottery system. Is anyone now going to buy a PlayStation 5 from Sony? No, you're going to the store and you're buying a PlayStation 5. You think Sony is going to sell all these refurbished consoles through their store?
Absolutely.
Why would you not? If you have the stock of refurbished consoles, why would you not just put them in stores?
Well, also, don't forget that there's going to be an influx of, I don't want to say influx, but definitely a feed of broken consoles from GameStop, Best Buy, anybody that's selling anything with a warranty. Because in that case, in that specific case, you're turning in your console to that retailer. They're giving you a replacement console, and that console is going out to Sony because they're just going to RMA that back to Sony direct.
Yeah, now granted the situation is different, but a lot of people were buying their consoles straight from Sony from their direct store back when there was a shortage. Now there's not so much of a shortage. I get that, but no, I don't see Sony sending their refurbished consoles that they've refurbished out to GameStop or mom and pop stores for them to sell it. I don't see that happening at all.
That's the best way to sell consoles. Again, yes, when there is a shortage, when it's hard, when stores do not have PlayStation 5s and you can buy directly from Sony, I can understand that. But these days, most people are just walking to a store buying a PlayStation 5. They're not buying from Sony.
Well, now because outside of the pandemic, yes, but they're now one of the easiest places to find the portal is on PlayStation Direct. They're still hard to find in the wild.
Matt, what do you think? Do you think we'll see refurbished consoles at GameStop and Walmart and these other stores?
It's possible because you are seeing that with Steam Decks. I mean, I don't know if they're coming directly from. Okay, so let's think about this.
Do you think Valve is sending those Steam Decks to like GameStop, or is GameStop just refurbishing them and then selling them on their own?
No, I think the retailers are selling them on their own. They're not getting them from the developer.
Right. That's what Alex is saying, is that PlayStation is going to, or Sony's going to send refurbished consoles to retailers. I don't see that happening at all. From the chat, Roboto says they refurbished stuff. Comes in a box labeled refurbished controllers too. I've purchased refurbished console controllers from Sony direct before. There you go. And Dex says maybe it's just a cheaper Christmas present for the kids. Don't know. All right, let's move on to our next topic here. Coming from Game Rant, written by Dominic Boshanak. PS5 Pro reveals lends credibility to the PlayStation handheld leak. With the 5 Pro revealing prediction by YouTuber on Moore's Law is Dead channel almost 7 months ago, the article notes that the channel's accuracy on predictions hasn't been the best, but the channel did get some things right, including the 2 terabyte drive, the 45% faster rendering speeds, and the ray tracing calculations. Why is this important? Because the channel also claims Sony is working on a PlayStation handheld and that Sony ordered some prototypes from AMD. Moore's Law is Dead, as well as a Russian journalist that I'm not going to try to pronounce, both report that a handheld may be in the works with the potential to run PS4 level games. Alex, if Sony does come out with a new handheld, are you the least bit intrigued?
No, and I don't understand why. After we saw what happened with the Vita. The Vita is obviously less successful than the original PSP, and they killed off the handheld market, which is why, the Portal was kind of, the Portal is not a handheld. It basically is already supported by games that are already released on the PlayStation 5. Sony doesn't have dedicated developers for the Portal because that's not the intent of the Portal. We've seen the PSVR and what has happened to that and how support for that is drying up. And these idiots honestly think that Sony is going to put out another handheld that is not going to get supported, and they have to have dedicated developers when we're already in a generation where people are complaining about the lack of games for the PlayStation 5. This would be a criminally stupid thing for Sony to do. They have not been able to pin down the handheld market, especially, again, when Nintendo wants no part of the handheld market. After the 3DS, in that whole line of consoles, that whole family of consoles, they did the Switch, which is, yes, a handheld console, but also doubles as a home console, which you can hook up to your TV. Why is Sony going to do this again when it's just going to fail?
I think the Vita failed, honestly, because it didn't have third-party support as much as they hoped it was going to. It failed
because lack of support. Yes, it's not going to change. The PlayStation VR 2 does not have support and is a failure. The Portal, again, does not need dedicated support because it already plays games you own for your PlayStation 5. Why do we have any reason to believe that Sony would better support another handheld? Again, Nintendo wants no part of the handheld market. They have been far more successful than Sony in that regard, and even they got out. So Sony would have to be stupid to jump back in.
You could argue that the reason the Vita came out was because of how successful the PSP was. Because the PSP
was successful in Japan. The PSP was successful in Japan.
It was also successful here.
A bigger chunk of that was in Japan.
But I also think that the PSP also was successful because of the UMD movies that were able to be.
But again, the PSP didn't come out 2 years ago. The PSP came out a long fucking time ago. It was more than 10 years ago. We're talking what, pre-2010?
Oh, the PSP or the PS Vita?
The PSP.
The PSP.
The PSP came out in 2004, 2005.
20 years ago. Completely different market now.
Oh, I agree. But I'm saying the reason we got a Vita is because of how successful the PSP was.
And the Vita was not successful.
Can I finish my statement?
Yes,
I think the Vita failed because there was not as much third-party support.
And there wasn't Sony. There wasn't first-party support for it. There was not first-party support. There was no support at all.
There was support for it, but you look at games now. You look at the PlayStation 5 now. A majority of the games on the 5 are third-party support. We have very little first-party games for the 5 as compared to the overall game.
Yeah, we noticed.
So Sony has been focusing on making their games, and taking 6-7 years to make a game is, I think, is wrong. But if they could get third-party support somehow, some way, another handheld could be successful. I know we're yelling into the wind here, Alex. I know we are. But the point of the matter is, in order for any console, handheld or home, to be successful, it has to have fundamental third-party support. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, they can't do it on their own. They have to have third-party support. And you have to make, if they make, I'll just call it the Vita 2. If they make the Vita 2, they somehow have to sell that to third-party developers and say, this is worth developing for. Otherwise, it's going to fail. Comments from the chat. Roboto says, any new handheld coming from Sony will not have physical games. I doubt it will have games based directly for it either. It will probably basically be a handheld PS4. Dex says it's a shame the Vita was amazing. Matt, your thoughts?
One of the things that you forget is the Vita also failed because of its proprietary memory. Same thing that the PSP had. And if they do develop their own, I don't know if they're going to have learned their lesson. You could put out there that it's to prevent piracy all you want, and it fails because not necessarily that it's proprietary, is that you make it proprietary and it's expensive as all fuck. So that kills a device in and of itself. I'll say this. For what it was, the Vita was great. But it became more of an emulation retro machine because you could play all the PS1 classics on it. I remember really great games on it being, what was it? Uncharted, The Golden Abyss. They had a Killzone on there, which was great. They had Rayman Origins, which was great, but then that went on to other systems. They had a horrible silent. It wasn't the Resistance
Retribution. That was a PSP game. Retribution was a PSP game, wasn't it?
I thought I got the platinum in the.
Wait, there's a Burning Skies, wasn't there? That was another Resistance game, right?
I think I have a platinum in a Resistance game on the Vita.
The thing I'm saying is, Nintendo has such a stranglehold on that market. I don't know if there really is room, especially now that the Steam Deck is out there. Like,
it was Resistance Burning Skies was the PS Vita game. Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No, it's good. It's you're now competing up against Nintendo's library and PC's library. You better come out swinging with some awesome first-party games if you have any hopes of people trying to get your handheld system. So if this is true, I think it's an uphill battle.
And here's the thing. The mobile phone games killed the handheld gaming market, in that it now dominates everything. You always have a phone with you. You're going to carry it with you. So cheaper games on that basically made games like things like the Vita and the 3DS family obsolete. And again, what makes the Switch successful is it's not just a dedicated portable device. It's a thing that you can hook up to your TV and play on your TV. That's why
we've had numerous reports, though, that people I think it's overwhelmingly like 80 to 90% of people that play the Switch, they play it in handheld mode. They don't put it up to their TV.
Okay, but the brilliance of it is that you can do either with it.
I agree.
But again, it all comes down to the fact that Sony, their home console market is not being adequately supported. And we know why it's not being adequately supported is because they took a flyer on a bunch of live service games that they didn't deliver on, and even had to pull one from the service now, that being Concord. They are going to have to rally around the PS5 and the PS6 just to get back on course. They do not have the ability. They can't put out games for the PSVR, and if they come out with another handheld, they will not be able to put out, unless they buy more studios, they're not going to be able to put out games for that handheld. Which again is what makes why the Portal has been as successful as it's been, which again, we don't have sales numbers still, but you don't have to have a dedicated team. You don't have to have dedicated games. It just plays games you already own. I don't see any way Sony could adequately support with first-party software and with other studios. We've seen how many layoffs there's been in the games industry in the last 2 years. Do you think third-party developers are then going to split off and spend money on another Sony handheld to try and make games for that? No, they're not.
Do I think it's going to happen? No. But do I think in order for another handheld to be successful, they have to convince developers to do it? Yes. And you have to incentivize them. Say, hey, we'll give you X amount of money extra if you develop this for the Vita.
And that's the problem, is you have to, they would have to incentivize people to develop for that console, whereas for the PlayStation 5, you don't really have to incentivize people. They're just developing games for it. So why do a portable at all? Again, why?
I think they're going to try. I think they want to tap into that market.
The market doesn't exist anymore. It's all mobile phones.
That's a fair point. All right, moving on to our next topic from GameSpot, written by Blair Marnell. Annapurna Interactive's entire staff resigns from the company. The entire staff on Annapurna decided to leave the studio after disagreements on the future of the company and could not be resolved with their founder, Megan Ellison. Nathan Gary, who was Annapurna Interactive's president, wanted to spin the company off as a standalone entity, while Ellison and Gary couldn't come to an amicable resolution. Gary, along with division co-heads Deborah Mars and Nathan Vella, along with the rest of the company, tendered their resignations. It should be noted that this event does not affect the deal Annapurna has with Remedy on Control 2 and Alan Wake, as it executed through Annapurna Pictures, not the Interactive subsidiary. That is not good news for that studio that the entire staff has quit.
Well, there's no news for the studio anymore because it doesn't exist, basically. It's a shell now.
Do you think they restaff and come back out?
I could see Annapurna Pictures going, all right, let's see who we can move into there. But this massively hurts anything that they had going on, any deals going on in the interactive portion, because anybody you put in there is going to have to get up to speed on whatever is being developed and whatever is being worked on. That's not going to happen overnight.
All right, Alex, your thoughts?
I mean, this was a hell of a news story to come up, because I shared this with the group. It's a hell of a story to, read, that an entire video game company that, has been relatively successful up to this point. Stray was one of their games. The Outer Wilds, I think, was another one of them. So they've done well-known games. It's not like they were just some know-nothing company. And to hear that the entire staff is just gone now and the company is just maybe just an executive is pretty crazy. It's just a wild story to read, but it kind of is par for the course when it comes to reading video game news, and with the layoffs and studio closures and everything. It's just kind of, it catches you off guard, but at the same time, when you think about it, it's like, well, I can see why this is a thing.
Yeah, they got quite a number of games that are in development right now. A Blade Runner game, The Lost Wild, Silent Hill Townfall. They were working on a bunch of games.
Yeah, well, not anymore.
It'll be interesting to see where they go from this. Just recap real quick. Roboto in the chat and refer to the new Sony handheld potentially. If they put out a handheld that people can download PlayStation 4 games they already have, they'll kill it. But I'll respond to that by just saying that's a lot of what the hate for the Pro is that they're enhancing games that people have already played and beat. Nobody's going to want to go back and play just because it has better graphics this time around. So I don't know if I agree with you on that. Last topic before we get into our questions and our topic of the week. Coming from I always have a problem saying this. Gamatsu?
Yeah.
Okay. Written by Sal Romano. Astrobot's free DLC coming in 2024 adds speedruns and new VIP bots. Team Asobi will release free DLC for Astrobot in 2024. The team behind Astrobot announced it will be smaller content, but will be free and focus on features players have been asking for, like speedruns. Also, the VIP bots that were not originally included will appear, so be on the lookout for new visitors and be sure to shave those seconds off your run times. I hate speedruns in Astro. I hate them.
They had speed runs in Astro's Playroom too, didn't they? Because I think you had to get a combined time for
under
all
7
the levels.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was literally the last trophy I had to get in that game, and I didn't do that until just recently. Yeah,
Yeah, I honestly I don't like speed runs either, but I mean to be fair, the requirements for under 7 minutes for Astrobot was not very difficult. It wasn't that hard.
It's funny because I can always tell when somebody buys the new PS5 because I'll start getting the messages. So and so beat your time. Would you like to reclaim the throne?
No, I wouldn't. I've already got that trophy.
Matt, your thoughts? Now that you are an Astrobot owner, are you looking forward to the speed runs?
Yeah, no, I mean, you know me. I love speed runs. I mean, whether I do well in them or not, I love watching people do it, and I think that's going to be fun seeing on the next PSA or Games Done Quick what people are doing with the game. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, but here's the thing, with the old Mario games like Mario and NES, you could kind of like break the game a little bit and manipulate things through like hitboxes and iBoxes or iframes, I should say. Could you really do that with some of the newer games? They're a lot more cleaned up and not as primitive. So I would think that your speed runs aren't going to be as exciting to watch as a lot of the older games, like say Mega Man games.
I don't know because I watched the speed run of the monkey level on Playroom, and I have no idea how the hell those guys are climbing those walls that quickly.
So here's the thing, and yeah, Alex, you bring up a good point, but the problem is with the older generation games, a lot of those speedruns have been perfected. We're not talking seconds. We're talking microseconds that people need to shave off to be able to beat the world records. That's why they actually spin off with all these other different categories. There's an any percent, there's 100%, there's a glitchless category, there's a beat the bosses in this specific order category. What's great about these brand new games is that people get to break them before there's any record really out there. So seeing what they do with these technical games is a lot of fun. A couple years ago, I was watching IGN had a series where it was the developer watches people break their games, and they were doing it with id Software and Marty Stratton, who was watching people just destroy Doom 2016. And you hear about the comments that they go, "Oh, we didn't think that somebody would try to do that," or "Wow, that was something we missed in QA." So not only are you going to have people just trying Astrobot speedruns just to see where they can shave seconds off, but you're going to have people start breaking this game to try to figure out how fast they can complete it, from start button to end credits. That's what a speedrun is all about. And getting people into it just by the normal programmable add-ons within a game is a great start.
All right. Any final comments with this?
The coolest part about watching the speed runs is being like, well, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because there's some speedrun trophies for Mega Man 11, and I would love to get the Platinum Trophy for Mega Man 11, but you have to do a speedrun of the game in under like an hour or something like that. And I just tried to watch people get to the first level, Blockman's level, and I'm just like, well, I don't know how you expect me to do that. Good show, old chap.
There's literally why they have things called frame perfect, and you have to be able to execute things within a frame or 2 frames, and it's insane the superhuman reflex some of these people have.
I mean, you literally have to play some of these games almost like a job to be able to get it down.
And yes, people do that. People are doing that.
Yeah. And you know what happens where a lot of the community comes together is there's entire discords and communities built around this where they give you the keys to the kingdom. They say, this is how we do this. And then it's just practicing bits and pieces at a time until you get the entire thing strung together. And it's really neat to see the formulas come together.
It gets to a point where they're not even looking at the screen anymore. It's just muscle memory of this jump, this time, at all that stuff.
Yep.
All right, let's throw it to the community.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
All right, Alex. The first one's coming from you, and I've already shared it with you, but this is coming from TikTok, which I know is your favorite place on the face of this earth. We put out a video.
Yeah. I was gonna say I got yelled at the other day by Ashley because since I don't have TikTok, she has to save the videos on her phone, and she complains about how much space they're taking up. And I'm like, just erase them after you send them to me.
There was a video of our PlayStation 5 Pro discussion in which I put on there, and in this particular clip, Alex was talking about how the new consoles jump to jump. There's no graphics or big jump that really qualifies this. And the comment that was left was, just because graphic fidelity isn't a requirement for you doesn't mean your broke ass gets to hold us back. This is an L take. So, Alex, I'm going to give you a chance to respond.
Well, hold on. Don't you want to read the other two responses to that one person?
Well, I do, but I was going to give you a chance to respond because I'm going to post this back on TikTok as a response to your comment.
First of all, what I think, whenever I talk, I think that I speak for me. And I said that for me, it's more important that a game plays well, it's smoother, there's less load times than, graphical fidelity. I didn't say that some yokel couldn't go buy a PlayStation 5 Pro if they wanted it. I said numerous times that, hey, there's obviously a market for this, which is why we see these mid-cycle refreshes so people can go out and buy it if they want. I'm just saying what I expect. So this dumbass who's going to sit here and call me poor or something like that just because I think that it's more important to focus on how a game runs than what it looks like at this point, that person can go fuck themselves. Seriously, go fuck yourself. That is my opinion. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not telling you you can't go buy it. If you want to spend $700 on a Pro, go spend your money. I was just asked, and I was just talking about what I thought was important to me.
All right. Matt, do you want to say anything to this, or do you want to move on?
Go back to the comment again, because
Just because graphic fidelity isn't your requirement for you doesn't mean your broke ass gets to hold us back. An L take.
Yeah. I mean, I just want my system to be able to play games the best it can, but you're not getting a massive graphical fidelity. What this system is doing for you is being able to provide higher frame rates at the current levels that they're producing. Now, down the line, they're gonna have some efficiencies, but I don't. Again, you're paying an extra $250 for a slightly faster, more powerful system. I just don't see the benefit.
I do like how you added the 50 in there because this is essentially going from the digital to the digital.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are forgetting. I keep hearing things tossed out there being like, oh, it's a $200 upgrade. No, it's not. Because you're not going from the base PS5 with a disc drive to a digital-only platform and expect that to be equivocation. And again, I even go and say $217 upgrade because the $450 or the $400 back then is more like $483 now. So,
all right. So,
yeah. Here's the thing. Like, again, I'm pretty sure that I never said that Sony shouldn't put out a Pro. I'm just reacting seemingly with everybody else saying that this is way too expensive, especially when you have a detachable disk drive that you then have to pay for. I'm not against Sony pushing, the technology forward, but it seems like much of the reaction to the PS5 Pro matches what I'm saying.
I don't disagree. All right, so two people in the comments did come back and defend you. They said, what an unneeded thing to say. No one gives a shit. And another person said, the point is the graphics are at the same point as sound. There's a point where the two I can't say this word, indistinguishable, except for the 2 times price range. So I agree. All right. Facebook questions as I go back because I just lost it and I'm stoned a little bit here.
Favorite hobby outside of gaming coming from Gareth.
There you go. Yill's not here, but we'll give him a chance to respond. He said, hanging with my friends and watching football. Alex, what is your favorite hobby outside of gaming?
Honestly, I've got a group of friends from work that we get together and we go bowling. We've done Top Golf. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a Top Golf, but it's basically a driving range with little mini games built around it or into it. So yeah, bowling, Top Golf, definitely a lot of fun. And I don't know if this counts as a hobby, but I really like going to the zoo and walking around and look at some animals, especially since we've had a lot of new births, a lot of babies here at the Louisville Zoo lately. So, yeah.
Fun fact, I got kicked out of Top Golf.
Why?
Because I kept driving the ball over the net.
No, you didn't. That net's high as shit. You couldn't get it over the net.
Well, when you go to Chelsea Piers, it's not a Top Golf. Chelsea Piers, you're basically like on the 3rd story, and the net's not that high.
I mean, yeah, you do. Actually, I prefer the third story because on the bottom floor they have like tables and stools and like high chairs, but on the third story they got like couches and shit you can sit on. So I prefer the third story. But I mean, the same setup. But I mean, how did they know it was you hitting the balls over the fence?
Because they were watching me, and I was doing it on purpose, 100%.
Oh, you're just an idiot then.
All right, Matt.
Axe throwing and smoking delicious meats and other food.
Hold on. I'm going to share my screen with you, Alex, so you can just see. That's obviously not me. It's a stock picture, but that's the size of the net.
All right.
So you could easily hit it over that. And I'm not a golfer at all. My favorite hobby is just watching Netflix. I don't go out much. I'm not a clubber. I don't go do things. And
well, I hate to say this. Like, I know that New York has a lot of sporting events, but it seems like going out and doing things
they're
in
too
New York,
expensive to go to.
well, yeah, but also it requires a lot more effort to go out in New York. Like, there's just a lot more people and a lot more everything than, like, say, here in the Midwest. So I'm assuming that it's more of a hassle when you actually want to go out and do something for entertainment purposes.
Well, I mean, just for example, if I want to go to a game at the Garden, Rangers game at the Garden, it's much easier just to take public transportation in, and that adds an extra 2.5, 3 hours to go there. And after the game, it's another 2.5, 3 hours to come back. Of course, I could drive in and pay like $50 an hour to park, but that's like paying for another ticket, so we avoid that. A lot of things are in the city, and obviously, people try to monetize everything that they can, and parking is a big thing in the city because there's so limited parking because our government has decided that they want to make bike lanes everywhere and remove parking. We still have outdoor dining huts still up that are taking away parking spots, so it's a pain in the ass.
I gotta be honest, I hate not having a parking lot anywhere we go. I hate having to find parking. So I can only imagine how much I would hate parking in New York City.
It's ridiculous. Roboto says in the chat, no one asked me, but I like playing punk rock music, making digital art, and salsa dancing. Yes, he's very good at the making digital art. Next question from Will. Oh, jeez. What's up with your boys at IGN refusing to review Lollipop Chainsaw Repop? Woke agenda, shitty journalism, both? So, for context, there are no real major outlets that reviewed this game. I looked up Metacritic. There are 4 reviews for the PS5 version, 2 reviews for the Xbox version, and no reviews for the other systems. It seems nobody wants to cover this game, and a lot of people are saying that this is because of how sexualized the game is and how over the top it is. So,
did it go? I mean, I know I'm aware of the first game. I did not play the first game, but it seems like
this is the first game.
Yeah, but did they go in and change a lot of shit to make it worse than or more over the top than the first game?
It's the content's the same, just better graphics, better sound. Generally what a remaster is.
Did they not? Did a bunch of hold on? What I'm gonna look and see how many reviews the first one got because I don't remember the first one being, particularly shunned when it comes to this kind of thing.
Well, and that's my ultimate question in the end: who was calling for this game to get remade?
I don't know.
I know it had a cult following, but
according to Metacritic, on the 360, it had 64 critic reviews for an average score of 70. And the PS3 had 37 critic reviews for an average score of 67.
So I don't understand why people are now refusing to, unless it's like, I could see people being like, you know what, we don't have the staff to cover every game. We don't have the staff to cover this game. Like, I can understand that being a reason. But the reasoning being that it's over-sexualized. Didn't people put out reviews for Stellar Blade?
Yes.
Like a lot of places. So I don't know. I don't remember. Yes, I understand that, there's a sexualized nature to the protagonist in this game, but I don't remember it being a thing that's the reason.
And to be fair, I've not seen anywhere where people have said we are not reviewing this game. I haven't seen an outcry of people saying we're not going to review this game for this reason. What I'm saying now, as far as people not reviewing the game, is all done by YouTube videos of people reporting, especially IGN, but no other company as well is reviewing this game, and they're all calling out IGN saying that IGN's not reviewing it because it's too woke. Again, I've not seen any news reports of anybody saying we're not going to review this game. It just seems like nobody has reviewed this game, and everybody's seeming to call IGN now for it.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, IGN, this game originally came out 12 years ago. It's 2012 was when this game came out. And different staff, I'm assuming, at IGN.
Probably.
Damon Hatfield is still at IGN, but a lot of the people that were there then are no longer there now. And I'm not calling Damon Hatfield out for any kind of decisional power in this. He's just a name that I've seen that still works at IGN. But you may have different editorial staff and they may call things differently. But again, I think when it comes to this, you have to think that media, the print media and people reporting on this kind of stuff, journalists, there's not as much money to go around and they don't have as much staff. You're probably hiring a lot of independent contractors or, people who are not actual employees. They just freelancers. But I could see people saying, this is just a remaster of Lollipop Chainsaw. We reviewed it once before. We don't have the staff or the time to do this. There's other bigger games out there that we need to focus on. I could see that. I don't know, why all of a sudden this game would be too sexualized when, again, as Tricky said, there were 64 reviews for it on Metacritic back in 2012.
Roboto in the chat says they won't side, bunch of cowards. They're calling out IGN because they're the biggest name. I get that they're calling out IGN because they're the biggest name, but why is nobody calling out other sites? Nobody's calling out Dual Shockers. Nobody's calling out Kotaku. Nobody's calling out any of the other sites. And I think it's weird that nobody reviewed the game. But again, I'm not defending anybody here, and I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong, but it's just really weird that nobody has covered it. But there's also no news stories of anybody saying we're not covering it because of this reason. Roboto says Marvel vs. Capcom collection got covered. Again, I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying anything. I'm just simply saying it's really weird that nobody reviewed it, and there's no news stories of anybody saying we're not reviewing it because of this thing. It's just everybody's calling out IGN because, like he said, they're the biggest name, but it's it's weird. Matt, your thoughts?
I wasn't aware that people weren't covering this game until somebody brought it out, so I didn't see any conversation as to why specifically IGN was not covering this. Again, I go back to who was calling for this game to get remastered. Didn't think the first one sold gangbusters enough to really warrant a re-release.
Okay. And last question coming from, I think this was a TikTok question that I posted in here from Cheap Shot 72493. Do you think if Xbox gets out of the console market that we risk a barely improved PS6 for a used price tag since there's no competition? And Yield did respond by saying we've already seen this with the PlayStation 5 Pro. Don't necessarily agree with Yield there because there's still competition, and Xbox is releasing their Series. Is it Series S? No, they're releasing a high-powered digital X.
So, yeah, let's consider this. I was looking it up, and this question prompted me to remember that I was looking at this. Xbox did fairly the same thing that Sony's doing, but nobody is going into outrage. The cost of the Xbox, they're not making a more powerful system, but they are making a 2 terabyte digital only Series X, and it is going to cost more money than the base. Not as much as the difference between the base PS5 and the PS5 Pro, but they're doing the same thing. And I'm sorry, they're not doing the same thing. They're not making a Pro, but they are making the digital only one with more memory.
And just not to cut you off there, that is priced at $600.
Yeah. So again, I'm looking at this going, where's the outrage on Xbox? So just shows everybody is really kind of I think they're beating Sony up a little bit too much. But to answer the question, I think there is still a market tolerability that Sony has to be aware of. And I think this Pro is testing that market tolerability. We'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, here's something to think about, though.
Hold on a second. I just want to make just add context to this. I'm on Xbox's website right now. A 1 terabyte all digital X is $450. A 1 terabyte disc version is $500, and a 2 terabyte digital version is $600, which are all price increases over what they originally came out with. But I'm sorry, Alex, go ahead.
No, the original Xbox Series X was $500.
Was it? I thought it was 4.
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. The original X and 5 were the same price. The difference was the digital versions, Xbox was cheaper than the 5 digital.
Yes, because it was rendering at it was a less powerful console. The PS5 was the same thing as the disc drive, just digital only.
Correct. I'm sorry. I apologize. Thank you for correcting me there. Alex, the floor is yours.
Just a short point to make here. You might be seeing more people take, access to Sony. One, because it is a higher price, it's $100 more, but also you got to remember Sony's market share is much bigger than Xbox's. They've sold a lot more PlayStation 5s than Microsoft has sold as Xboxes. So that market share could also be a reason. They are the more popular console when it comes to this generation, so you got a bigger majority there to scream out on the internet.
I didn't even look at the as Matt pointed out, I am starting now to wonder why where the outcry for the Microsoft is for the price of the digital X. That's I'm kind of speechless right now. I don't know where my comments are.
Well, it obviously got lost in the shuffle with PlayStation being the biggest news, and again, that kind of shows. It goes to show you.
I'm sorry. This was announced like a month ago, I believe.
Okay, but at the same time, that's where the popularity of the Xbox is at. I think at this point, the Xbox is an afterthought.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to the original question, though. If Xbox does get out of the console market, do we see a barely improved PS6 for a used price tag because there is no competition? Because, I'm going to equate this to a category that we're going to relate to you, Alex, more than this Matt, because Matt doesn't like it. But a lot of people were saying like WWE was getting stale when there was no competition, and that WWE only started getting better once they had TNA and AEW to compete with. So competition does breed, innovation.
Well, first of all, I mean, WWE was still going downhill when TNA was a thing. It wasn't like TNA. I mean, yes, competition is good. I'm not arguing there, but TNA didn't really make WWE better because after the Attitude Era, WWE got progressively worse. And there's, the common denominator was Vince McMahon. Company got better once Vince McMahon was gone. So I think more than anything, that's what is there. Is for years, people are like, when Paul Levesque takes it over, it's going to get better. And that's what happened. I'm not saying that the competition doesn't factor at all, but I think not having Vince there is the biggest difference.
Okay, I didn't mean to turn this into a wrestling thing. I meant I was just trying to use the example that competition does breed more innovation. So
yeah, I mean, there's no question about that. But also, you got to think that Mark Cerny and the team have been focusing on. They've been building the PS6 for years now at this point, and so they're moving forward with that and have been moving forward as if Microsoft is going to come out with another console. So maybe the PS7, if Microsoft were to get out of the console race, maybe then yes. But the 6, no, because they've already been building the 6 and they're not going to change things up, now to accommodate, the fact that, maybe Xbox is going to get no. Those things are already set in motion. It's too far gone for the PlayStation 6.
All right, Matt, your thoughts?
I still think you're going to see an improved console. Sony can't release a new one without there being, some sort of improvement. But I think we're also at that age and at that point where, and I kind of covered this during our discussion on the PS5 Pro announcement, there needs to be some new tech, some new purpose to get the console. Otherwise, we're at a point where graphical improvements are not, they're not as large of a gap between the last system as they are now.
Careful, Matt. I got chewed out by somebody on TikTok for saying something like that.
Can we all agree? Okay, I'm assuming at this point you guys have probably seen the comparison videos of the Pro announcement. Can we agree that what they did show with the Pro did look better? Can we at least agree on that?
No, it doesn't look better. It flows better. It's a huge difference.
Okay, then the images when they were doing the Pro announcement, when they were doing side by side, which I thought was ironic, and I'll get to that in a second. I thought the Pro side did look better. It was clear, it was crisper, better lighting, whatnot. And I'm not here defending the Pro. I'm no way saying, hey, everybody go out and buy the Pro. I'm still against buying the Pro. I'm simply saying, I thought they looked better. Alex, did you see the comparison videos?
No, I didn't, because as soon as I saw the price, I'm like, well, there's no point in looking any further into this, because, yeah, right. I mean, hearing what I heard, and I knew that nothing Sony was going to do visually with the PlayStation 5 Pro. It may run better, but there was nothing that they were going to do to make that price, to me,
justifiable.
Worthwhile. Yeah, justifiable.
All right. But here's what I find ironic is, in order to do that video, they basically had to say how shitty the current PS5 is to sell. Oh, these are better graphics. I thought that was ironic.
Well, and here's the thing: even without Microsoft, which I don't think Microsoft is getting out of the console business right now, I still think we have at least another generation of them coming. There'll be an Xbox box next generation.
I don't think there's going to be.
Well, I mean, we'll see. Again, Nintendo doesn't have the same kind of library, the same third-party support that PlayStation and Sony do. But there is one factor that has entered the arena in the last couple of years that I think would still push Sony to have to continue to put their best foot forward, because people may not want to deal with a PC. But Matt, can you think of another console people might buy into without having to upgrade it all the time?
Yeah, I was a little weird about that question too.
Matt owns
one.
I mean,
I don't really understand your question, Alex.
Yeah.
What is a console out there that could still, even without Microsoft in the picture, that could force Sony to continue to do their best? Because we know that the Nintendo does not have the same third-party support. But a lot of people who are afraid of the PC, if you buy something else, you don't really have to upgrade it as you would a normal PC. Matt, you have one.
I think
you mean the Steam Deck? No,
yes.
I mean, that's so the problem is, again, it's different markets. The Steam Deck is getting to a point where you start to feel its age in the fact that this system's only really 2 years old, something like that. And I throw Space Marine 2 on there and it runs, but it's not running very well. I have to make a lot of sacrifices to get it to go. So the problem is Steam is just, they put it out there because the technology of using Linux to get games running on a handheld is actually the proof in the pudding. But you remember a couple years ago, Steam was putting out their Steam Machine PCs, and that flopped. That was horrible. That didn't go anywhere. The problem here is, and now with Sony putting their games on PC, it's no longer a competition. It's an outlet for them to sell their games. So if you're talking about making sure people are playing your games and playing it at the best way that they can, Sony needs to make sure that their games are running well on PC.
All right. I think that's all our questions. I think. Yep. All right. Let's move on to our topic of the week. Coming from Eurogamer, written by Ed Nightingale. This is going to be a fun one. Games industry layoffs are not the result of corporate greed, and those affected should, quote, drive an Uber, end quote, says ex-Sony president. Chris Deeren, the former Sony Computer Entertainment Europe president, stated in an interview recently that he does not believe the layoffs happening across the industry were a result of corporate greed. Going deeper into his statement, Deeren advised he always tried to minimize the speed of which they added staff because they know in cycles occur and did not want to have, quote, the same problem that Sony did in electronics, end quote. He clarifies that if money isn't coming in from consumers, it's hard for a company like Sony to justify spending money on the next game. Deeren goes on to say that having skills in game development isn't going to be a lifetime of poverty and limitation. Likening the uptick to iHeartRadio during the pandemic, that when the industry has a downturn, some will figure out what to do to get through it, including things like driving an Uber, finding cheaper places to live, etc. He advises those going through a rough time to keep up with the news and keep their skills set sharp, as once you lose that edge, it's harder to get back into the swing of things. So I have to say, when I originally saw this headline, I was like, this guy's a fucking asshole. Then I read the article, and I kind of see what he was saying. Okay. Now, I'm just going to simply say this. What he's basically saying by driving Uber, he goes, if you get laid off, that sucks. But in a year's time, people are going to want you back. You're going to find another job. So in the meantime, do what you have to do to survive, including driving an Uber or finding a cheaper place to live, or whatever the case may be. He's not saying, fuck you, we laid you off, go drive an Uber. That's really what I thought he said. He's saying, in the time before, until you get your next job, just go find a way to survive in the meantime. Alex, you kind of gave a weird look when I started going into
No, I mean, the headline definitely does not, I think, accurately represent, it's definitely a sensationalistic headline. It's basically, maybe the writer was trying to grab the spirit of the article or the spirit of the quote or what he was saying, but in the end, it makes his quotes look far worse than they actually are.
Yes.
So I think more care could have been put into that headline. Personally, I think that, corporate greed is everywhere, but I think when it comes to the video game industry, and there may be some greed tied to issues, but I think a lot of it is just financial mismanagement, just fiscal mismanagement, betting on the wrong games, spending too much money on games, spending too much time making games. There's probably a lot of reasons that we've seen as many layoffs as there have been. And yes, they're mentioned that, development cycles are cyclical. And so you need some talent now that later on you're not going to need. Maybe you bring in artists that you won't need later on down the road, or maybe you bring in people to compose music that you don't need later on down the road. And so, yes, game companies understand that this is cyclical and why you do see an ebb and flow of talent from the industry. It just seems so much worse in recent years. And again, I think a lot of that is because of financial mismanagement, maybe tied to greed because they are chasing a golden goose, something like live service. Yeah, maybe in trying to maximize profits or shareholder return, people at PlayStation or other companies made poor decisions trying to latch on to something that they thought would bring them the most money. There is an aspect of corporate greed in it, but that is also very much tied to financial mismanagement. And you definitely have seen a lot of that, and that being a reason that we've seen so many people laid off in recent years.
Matt?
I definitely kind of sided more with what you were looking at, Tricky. Again, we all read the article. It's like, who the hell is this saying that? And then as you go in, it's realizing he was talking about how he tried to balance things. He didn't want to do a mass hiring at the point of the pandemic to cover all this extra work from home stuff and to ramp up production. So therefore, he was not experiencing as many layoffs, because I think that's something that people have been saying all along with a lot of these layoffs, is that these were coming from pandemic hires and higher ups. So therefore, now, instead of companies, what he's saying is, instead of companies, a lot of people are out there saying that companies are just giving bonuses to their executives, which it is the case in some examples. But in other cases, he's saying, no, it's just, this is what's happened when you hire up, and now you're back to a normal workload. So I understand what he's saying. I appreciate the fact that he's trying to give people the motivation to say, listen, it's rough now, it'll get better, so just stick with it, do what you need to do to get by. But again, the article, I think, isn't doing any favors getting that story out there.
Yeah, I think that headline just totally misleaded everything. I no longer think the guy's an asshole.
That's why it's important to read the article instead of just, reading things as you would read on Twitter and then go and kind of like, because it's writing a headline as someone who has done it is not always the easiest thing, but you have to be careful because you can definitely give a negative spin to a story or, spin a story in a way that's not intended, just like we've seen here.
And I really believe that headline was written that way because it's unfortunately it's in a lot of articles it's clickbait. You want to click to see what the hell he actually said, and then it turns out, oh, the headline didn't really accurately represent the article.
If people are even willing to click on it instead of just going on a rant.
Yeah. Unfortunately, nowadays it's just in our society, at least with Americans, if nowadays people just read the headline and that's the news story they go with, and that's how shit spreads and misinformation. And not to use the term and lightly, but this is why a lot of people say there's a lot of fake news out there. So, all right. So before we close out the show, Alex, I do have some more TikTok comments.
All right.
One, D. Pauly says Sony is pulling Apple moves. As an owner of an iPhone, I'll give you a chance to respond first.
I don't know in what ways that
because Apple overprices everything.
I mean, people are willing to spend on it. I mean, you need a phone, and people are. I mean, I have an iPhone 12. I'm fine with my iPhone 12. So, I mean, got it paid off, saving a little money, extra money every month that I was, originally paying towards the payment plan. But I'm off that now, and I don't feel the need to go out and buy a new phone because, again, like to go with what that user was saying, like, I think that we had a chance to buy the 13 instead of the 12, and then we went with the 12 because there was just not an incremental increase in the capabilities of the 13s. We're like, well, screw it. We'll save money just buy the 12. And, maybe that is an example here of where you're going to save money by not buying a Pro because is the jump in technology really that much?
I got news for you. The iPhone 16 ain't much better than 12 either.
Well, I don't have an iPhone 16, so I'm 4 generations back, my guy.
There's a lot of comparisons when Sony did this because shortly after that was the new iPhone reveal, and everybody was like, "Oh, $700 for a Pro? Fuck that! $1,600 for an iPhone 16? Yeah, I'm getting that."
Again, I mean, phones are more ubiquitous than PlayStation. People love their phones. We are so tied to our phones, and it's the way you communicate with people. It's the way you connect people. So, I mean, it's. Yeah, all people are always gonna be down to buy a new phone. I'm not saying it's right, but people just don't care.
All right. Another comment because there's two more. This one comes from Redneck Zebra. Says, I think Nintendo will have another $300 price point for the Switch 2, and it will be the best $300 you can. It will be the best $300 can get you. Matt, we'll go to you first because you're more of the Nintendo guy than both of us.
I think we may be hard pressed to see another Nintendo console at $300. I think we're looking closer at $400 just based off of the rumor mill.
Well, and you look at their competition too, and Nintendo probably feels safe in going to $400 because they're still on the low end when it comes to console prices at that point. So why not charge $400?
Well, that does lead into the last comment, which comes from Trix. Says, y'all don't understand market reactions. The Pro was such a price gouge that a Switch 2 at $400 will feel like a bargain. Again,
isn't that what I just said? That they would still be on the low end of console sale prices? And
listen, Nintendo's got their cycle to go on. N64 awesome, or it was Super Nintendo awesome, N64 awesome, GameCube,
Hey man, people look back at the GameCube with a lot of love.
Yes, after the fact.
Yes, really after the fact.
Wii awesome, Wii U meh, Switch awesome. They're due for a console that's not going to perform well. So.
We also have to agree the Wii U was the test cycle for the Switch.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. I'll leave this before we close out the show, and I'll ask Matt first. Do you think Nintendo was holding off on the announcement of the Switch 2 so they can pass sales, all lifetime sales of the PS2.
No, because it's going to happen naturally.
You think if they announce the Switch 2, people will keep buying the original Switch?
Yeah, because they're going to throw the original Switch on discounts. They're with the rumor that they're still making it that you can play Switch games on the next console is going to give some people a reason to, I'll hold on to this one a little longer because I don't need to jump to the next one. I still got plenty of games I can play on this console. So, after good old Jimmy Ryan cheated and increased the number again. Actually, where are we at now?
Hold on. Here we go.
Where are we at?
No, what have I said about mentioning that name? You're going to summon him.
No, I think even Daryl's given up on Jim Ryan.
Yeah.
Daryl's never given up on Jimmy Ryan.
As of August, yeah. So again, the last time I talked about this was in our chat was at the end of August, where Switch are at 143.4 million lifetime sales. Yeah, another 17 million. We're coming for you.
That's a big number though, especially at the end of a life cycle. That's a big number. Roboto says Daryl who.
I think that once you see the Switch 2 announced, I think people are less likely. You will see a slowdown in sales, but I think Nintendo also would be smart. And, as long as they are not announcing anything, I mean, they can look at sales and see how well the console's still selling. If, the sales become too slow, then, yeah, they'll probably be like, you know what, it's time to ramp up the excitement for our console and, our games, and we're going to announce the Switch 2. But they also have a lot of games that they announced at their Direct earlier this year. I mean, there's a new Mario Party coming out, the new Legend of Zelda. There was a Donkey Kong Country Returns is also coming back. So they had a lot of announcements. So with so much support still for the Switch, I mean, there's really no reason to announce a Switch 2 this year. Maybe see it next year, but
how long has the Switch been out now? 5 years, 6 years?
2017.
I got one in 2018 for Christmas.
It was 2017.
So 7 years. I mean, that's a pretty long time to wait for the next announcement.
It is also, and it bypassed, it is also the longest running Nintendo console for sale.
Is it really?
Yep. I think it bypassed, I think it was the original NES. But whatever, it just recently happened. It said, this has been the longest standing Nintendo console that's been for sale.
All right. Let's close out the show. Let's do some shout outs. Alex, we'll start with you.
Give a shout out to the listeners, the fuel to the fire that's Trophy Horrors, our awesome community. Thank you all for commenting, sharing, preaching the gospel of Trophy Horrors. We appreciate you all so very much, because without you all, we could not do this. Give a shout out to my co-host Tricky and Matt. Yield, a shout out to him as well, although a more somber one, because in the end, his Bengals lost by a single point due to a field goal at the end of the game. So, hey, no shame in losing to the defending champions there, Yield. So, yeah, Joe Burrow played a lot better this week, so hopefully the Bengals continue that trend. Last but not least, give a shout out to Ashley. I love you, hun. And, yeah, that is it for this week. Matt, anybody you want to give some love to, besides, of course, Narga and V and good old Zelda?
Yes, plenty of people I want to give the love out to, but I'll try to keep this brief. Shout out to you gents for recording tonight. Shout out to Roboto, Dex, and V, who are in chat tonight. Shout out to the Channel 3 community. Make sure to check out channel3.gg to gamify your social media, talk about games, post about games, earn some XP for playing games. And also shout out to my wife, V. Thank you for everything you do.
I think I saw Ray in the chat too earlier.
Oh, Ray. Sorry I missed you, buddy.
I'm just saying, I just want to make sure I saw. Yeah, Ray was in the chat earlier. We didn't mention him. Shout out to the Goddess. Shout out to Sweet Mama D. Shout out to everybody that's been engaging on our socials, kind of pumping up our numbers lately. We do post clips to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. You're never going to see the three of these guys on TikTok. Except Alex, when Ashley sent him a video.
I literally have so many social accounts, I can't add anymore. I can't do it.
You don't even have Twitter anymore. You deleted your Twitter.
Facebook and Instagram. That's all I need. Some people don't even want that.
I've still not made an Instagram account. We do have a site Instagram account, but I think it's not really active lately. Keeps we post the clips on there too, but it keeps disassociating itself with our clip company, so can't post there. But if there's nothing else, until next week, happy trophy hunting.
Later.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.